Hey dudes, welcome to Splat from the Past, the only 80s themed horror and sci-fi show where things can get totally radical. Now today, I will be welcoming the director of the classic horror blaxploitation movie, Blacula, William Crain. He directed that classic, and he also directed Mr. Black, Mr. Hyde. He also directed television, particularly Aaron Spelling shows like Starsky and Hutch, The Mod Squad, The Rookies, and he directed The Dukes of Hazzard too. And I'm having him on the show today to talk about all that stuff and talk about an upcoming project that he has and all that stuff. And I can't wait. I mean, Blacula is a true legendary classic of a horror film. And I can't wait. It's going to be pretty awesome. So, here is my interview with William Crain. Hey, William.
Hi, Tommy. How are you?
I am great, sir. How are you?
Good.
It's such an honor. Thank you for taking the time today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you for your interest.
My pleasure. So, going back in time, did you gravitate towards film early on?
That's funny. I still, somewhere in storage, have my Brownie Hawkeye still camera.
Mm-hmm.
I have an 8mm projector and camera.
Wow.
Really started pretty early.
Yeah.
My folks didn't have enough finances, and they said, well, you want to do film, you're going to have to do that later. But, it's been a pretty long time.
Wow. That's old school stuff. It still runs and everything?
Yeah, it does. Actually, I have the two posts where you used to run the 8mm film by and then have to cut it with a razor blade and then, glue it together and run it on a projector. Yeah.
Wow. Do you remember the first movie you ever saw?
Oh, my. That's a little hard. No, not exactly. When we went to the movies in my neighborhood, it was usually on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
With our pocket change from either throwing papers or cutting lawns. And would stop by one of the drugstores and buy our candy there.
Mm-hmm.
And go, I would say maybe at noon, and we'd stay in the movie all day, watching the serials, and sometimes my mom would have to come at 7 or 8 o'clock at night and pull me out of there. I remember Roy Rogers and Gene Autry and several. What did I see that I could name that I remember? There was something about Hawaii where this woman jumped off into a volcano, and I can't remember the name of that. What can I say to you that impressed me? One that impressed me when I was young was Shane,
mm-hmm.
the Western Shane with Alan Ladd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great movie.
Mm-hmm.
Do you, what are your favorite movies?
Oh, boy. Magnificent Seven.
Oh, that's a good one.
Red October.
Mm-hmm.
Frankenstein.
Oh, yeah.
Original.
Yeah, Boris Karloff.
Boris Karloff. There was a movie called Black Orpheus that kind of got me intrigued later in life. But that was one of my favorites.
That sounds familiar, yeah. It sounds like you really like the Western genre.
Oh, don't get me started. High Noon.
Yeah.
310 to Yuma.
I love The Gunfighter with Gregory Peck.
Oh, absolutely. And then Tombstone,
mm-hmm.
The Gunfighters, let's see, Tombstone. What was the one before that? That was with Wyatt Earp and some. It was before Tombstone, based on the same premise.
Probably.
Gunfight at OK Corral.
Mm-hmm. Before Tombstone, you're probably thinking of Wyatt Earp with Kevin Costner.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of good westerns out there. Clint Eastwood, he makes those really dark, psychological ones. Yeah,
they call them the Italian or banana westerns, or I've forgotten what they call them. They were Italian.
Oh, yeah, there was the spaghetti westerns.
The Fistful of Dollars.
And The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and A Few Dollars More.
Right.
Yeah, those are all good. Mm-hmm. So you're originally from Ohio?
Yes, actually.
So after high school, did you go to college or film school?
Both. I did. I went to film school, and then I did UCLA.
And that's where you learned your directorial voice there?
I'm not. I would think so. Yeah, I think when I really cut my eye teeth, I went up to Canada and stayed in Toronto and went to work with CBC, which is Canadian National Film Board, or Canadian Broadcasting Company. And I did a couple of series out there, acted in a couple of series there. Mm-hmm. And that's where I really got my stripes for directing.
When you got to LA, did you do any production assistant jobs?
No, I didn't, but I did several of those in Canada, in Toronto and Montreal, and I did some stage there and directed some stage plays there. And when I first got back into LA, we did Little Theater. One of the productions we did was called the Amen Corner. Mm-hmm. And I stayed with that for a couple of years. And actually, Dave, now that I think about it, that was before my inroad into Toronto, because they took Amen Corner to Broadway, and I had a chance to go to Broadway. And Tommy, to this very day, I wondered if I should have done that, but I went to Toronto instead. So I'll always think about that. I had a chance to star on Broadway and in one of the roles, but I wanted to get this film thing going. So
yeah, you wanted to direct.
Yeah.
Is there a big difference between stage directing and film directing?
Oh, quite a bit. I think film directing is easier. Mm-hmm. In that you have a chance to rehearse and re-rehearse, and you have to have a photographic eye, I guess. But stage direction is a lot of fun, a lot of effort, and all the nuances you can go over and over and over again until the production is ready. Mm-hmm. With film, you can do 2 or 3 different takes, and I have in mind to do a stage play. If I have the energy left, I've got in mind to do it. I can name it for you. It's called let's see, wait a minute. They did To Kill a Mockingbird, and I'm thinking. Mm-hmm. Hold on a minute. Let me get to this.
Okay.
This guy's right in front of me. Emmett Till. You remember Emmett Till?
I know the name, yeah.
Old enough to remember that saga?
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you the short of it. It was a kid who was in the Midwest. I think it was from Chicago. And during the summer vacations, he went to visit his grandparents in the South, mm-hmm. Alabama, I think. You might have to correct me on that, but he went there. And he had a couple of pictures of students that he went to school with, and he showed the kids around that he had this white girl that he boasted about was his girlfriend, which we'll never know.
Yeah.
And he went into a store, and the version was that he made a pass at the woman who was running the store. I don't know if this was true, but went back to his grandparents' house that afternoon, and the rowdy Southerners crashed his grandparents' house and took him out and cut him up, hung him up upside down, and killed him and buried him in a creek.
Mm-hmm.
And
Wow.
he eventually got caught, and they went to trial, and the guys at the trial, the sheriff and the rest of them who were involved, were eating red hot. I remember that, and they got acquitted.
Wow.
I think it was called The Murder or The Trial of Emmett Till, and James Baldwin wrote about it. And I think that would be an excellent stage play, and especially with the current time and the current division in our country,
Mm-hmm.
there would be some audience to go and see it.
Yeah, it's like a classic serial killer story, except most serial killers go to jail.
Yeah, well, wasn't there somebody else that there was another story? I don't think anyone has written about this in a narrative form, but this black man was walking down the street somewhere. I think this also was Alabama or something, and these three guys rode up in a pickup truck and told him they'd ride him home, and they pulled over somewhere later and beat him up and tied him up and did all sorts of things to him and tied him to the hitch on the back of the truck and hauled him for 2 or 3 miles. I think he lost his head on one of the posts on the side of the highway or something.
Mm-hmm.
They eventually got caught. And I think that there were 3 of them, and the youngest one, I think, still may be in jail. One of them died, and I don't know if the other one was executed, or I think they gave him the death penalty. But that's pretty horrific.
Wow, that is. Man.
That just happened within, this is, boy, get me with the timing here, but I mean, this is only 4 years ago.
Yeah, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know what goes through people's heads sometimes. That is just bad. I see you directed a lot of Aaron Spelling's shows. How did that come about, and was he your mentor?
It was sort of a mentor. When I left Toronto and decided to spread my wings, I came here and was introduced to him and kind of observed on his sets for a while. And they were shooting a movie of the week, and they ended up doing a scene in the evening, and the hero had to make a phone call.
Mm-hmm.
And they hadn't cleared the phone number he was going to call. And there was a hold up. The whole company was at pressure to figure out what to do because the phone number wasn't cleared. And Spelling was there, and we were all sitting around this phone booth. And I said, use an area code. And I remember this. Start the number with 9 something.
Mm-hmm. And
at that time, there's no private phone number started with 9. And they jumped on it. And they did it, and they finished the scene. And Aaron came back a week later and said, you want to direct Mod Squad? There you go.
Wow.
There's this guy hanging out with all these filmmakers and 150 crew members and whatever. And I solved this problem for him because it was stuck. And I can't remember if it wasn't 999, and the area code would have worked fine, but it was the prefix. Mm-hmm. And at that point, that was before cell phones,
Yeah.
So they were all landlines, and for some reason, prefixes never started with 9, and I don't remember how I remembered that, but it pulled them out of a jam. And the payoff was my first directorial debut, which was Mod Squad.
Wow. And we just lost Peggy Lipton. How was she?
She was wonderful to work for. She was to work with. She was just a gem. What a gem, all the way. And that was a time that Quincy Jones. I said, what happened with that? I think
they got married and had a couple of daughters.
Yeah, Sammy Davis was doing a show, and Quincy Jones had Sammy. I forgot what Sammy did with this, but he was instrumental in letting Peggy know that Quincy really admired her, and that started it. And they started going out, and they got married.
Wow.
I don't know all the details, but I do remember being on the set and remember Sammy kind of introducing this thing with Quincy Jones, and it kind of worked out. But she was just a sweetheart of an actor to work with, and I'm sorry she's gone. That's her and her family.
Yeah, I read her book years ago. She went through an awful lot too, and it's unfortunate, but that's good that you had a good experience working with her. You also did Starsky and Hutch and The Rookies. Any great stories about that?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, we had fun with The Rookies. Starsky and Hutch was sort of fun. I mean, it was, there were some crew members that were in my corner and some that weren't. I started directing before it was legal, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Racially.
Yeah.
And I ran into a few problems. But I don't have any particular stories. I mean, some of those episodes that I did were replayed, and I got good reviews on them, and it led into some other episodes for Spelling, SWAT I did, and some others.
Mm-hmm. So how did Blacula come into your life?
It was again before it was legal. I mean, I came into town, and I would like to say I got a lot of attention, just a hell of a lot of attention. Lynn Goldberg wanted me to do one of the shows that he was there at Screen Gems. Was kind of hanging out, trying to get a job, and they were looking around for a director, and they mean Dimension Pictures. American International Pictures. And I went for an interview, and I snagged it.
Mm-hmm.
And there again, there were some interesting things that went on because they had AIP had their idea of what they thought this character should be, and I had my idea of what this character should be.
Yeah.
Sam Markoff. One of the stories I remember was when the morgue was when Dr. Van Helsing, which is Thomas Rasulullah, digs up the grave of one of the kids that are buried.
Mm-hmm.
Find out, if he was a vampire or what. Denise Nicholas and him were on the side, and digs up this grave, and once he gets to the coffin and opens it, this vampire jumps out to get him, and he has to drive a stake through his heart.
Mm-hmm.
But he drives to a phone booth and calls Elijah Cook, who was the mortician at the place,
mm-hmm.
and tells him, "Look, take the body of that cab driver out of the cooler, because we're going to come down and see you. But take her out of the cooler and be sure to lock the doors." So when we picked this practical location, the door that we set for the morgue was some 40 feet down the hallway. So I put the phone, not phone booth, I put the phone on the wall, which was about 40 feet away. And so the shot I had in mind was that once this vampire woke up, she was going to open the door and run down the hall and get Elijah. And so in my mind, I wanted to shoot it in slow motion. So days before, I called AIP and said, "Look, I want a high-speed camera to shoot this slow motion." And producers and people said, "Absolutely not. Just use what you have." And I asked for it and asked for it and asked for it. And the days went by, and we got close to the shooting. And I was going to try to take this Mitchell that we were shooting with and try to crank it up as fast as I could. And Tommy, would you believe? I think what happened. I don't know. I wasn't there when it happened, but I think we began to see the dailies, and the dailies were coming in, and the dailies were hot, and I think they acquiesced. And the day that we were going to shoot this thing, this camera crew showed up. This new camera crew showed up on the set, and they had the high-speed camera that I wanted. So there you go. What can I tell you?
That's good. Yeah, that's good.
I didn't think I was going to get it. Well, of course, once she opens that door and runs down the hallway, I mean, people still talk about that shot.
Yeah, it's pretty effective. Were you a fan of the original Dracula series as well?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we used to see them in the movies. That's that when we were kids, we'd go to the movies and watch not only the serials, but there were the Draculas and the Wolfman, with the stagecoach riding, trying to get back to his graveyard before the sun came up.
Yeah.
We used to watch those over and over and over again. So it kind of reminds me, one of the first, I'm going away from you here, but it reminds me of one of the first times I sat in a studio to look at a movie that we were considering an actor for. And I sat in this screening room, with about 20 seats, and put my hand on the thing, and I told the projectionist to go ahead and start the film. And it occurred to me that all of those times that we spent in the movie as a kid, I wish I could find those guys now, because they're paying me to watch movies now. I still think that, but I'm sitting here as a director, and I'm in the front seat, and I'm starting the movie, and I'm getting paid to do this, to watch this movie. I mean, that's a pinnacle in my life.
I was reading William Marshall was very adamant about having Blacula having some dignity.
Oh, absolutely, he was, and we talked about it before we hired him. Joe Nora and I talked about him with it, and that was another thing. Is that Samuel Arkoff? They at that point they did many blaxploitation movies, with Jim Brown and some others, and
Fred Williamson.
Yeah, Fred Williamson and the rest, and the whole crew, and they were going to name Blacula Count Brown's in town, and which was kind of ridiculous. And I didn't think it at the time. I just said, let's try to do this with something else. And we finally came up with Blacula, which worked. But there were many changes. I mean, the cape was going to be red, and there were some other things that they wanted. And I just wanted them to change. And I said, well, the inside of the cape maybe should be pearl gray, or sort of a dark gray. And that was all against the wishes. But I got it, and I think it worked out just fine.
It sure did.
And that was one of the things that we discussed. And then with William Marshall was there, and we talked about him, using his tremendous voice that he had, and diction that he had so well. And I was just bowled over. So I was happy, and that worked out really well for him to be dignified.
Yeah, it's funny because go ahead.
First of that, when you see that opening scene with him as an Ed McGee, when they're talking to the real Dracula before he's bitten, they talk about what happens, and the guy makes a pass at his wife, and man, is he dignified or not?
Yeah.
You see, what was it? How dare you?
Yeah.
He slammed the glass down. It was just great. I loved it.
Yeah, he later became famous for playing the king of cartoons on Pee-wee's Playhouse, which I always thought was hilarious when I found out about this movie. Yeah. He was great to work with, though.
Oh, yeah, he was good. I mean, it was just, he came to me one time, I think once the extras hit him in the head and knocked him out so Dracula could bury him. He was hurt. It was supposed to be breakaway glass, but I don't know. I watched it happen. And he said, man, I can't do this. I'm hurting. What do you say? And I said, you know what? Let's take the day off. So we shut it down and took the day off. Everybody was angry, but what did they do? to take the day off.
How was Vonetta McGee?
Vanetta McGee was wonderful. What a charm she was. I was really lucky to get her, both her and Denise Nicholas. It just worked out. I mean, they worked together as well. I mean, it was sisters, and they worked well together. They bounced off of each other, and I loved up hiring those two. And Vanetta was again a sweetheart to work with. It worked out really well. They were fine. She was fine.
Mm-hmm. And what's his name who died? Thalamus Rasululu.
Rasululu, yeah.
Yeah.
What a good guy. We became friends after that, and we did some camping together. Did a lot of fishing together. And, out in the woods, we did some shooting.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, guns. Open out in the forest. He was almost a marksman. We used to find an old refrigerator out there and paint bullseyes on it and go back about 10 yards or so. We would shoot. We did that several times. We went to Little Takits and we went other places and we camped out together and turned out to be a really good friend. I was sorry to see him go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see you like to cast J2 Kumbuka a lot.
Yeah, G2 Kumbuka really was part of the, Van Whitfield set up an outfit called PASLA, Performing Arts Society of Los Angeles, I think it was, and hired a lot of people, but that all was after Amen Corner came back to town, and at the time they put that together, I was in Canada. And so when I came back, of course, I visited Van, and we were all buddies, and G2 was one of the actors in that group.
Yeah.
And he was a jive turkey in Blacula, and I loved it.
Yeah, he was great in everything he was in.
Sure.
Was there any controversy surrounding the movie?
There was quite a bit. I mean, the first day Joan R. was really great. Joan R. opened up a couple of offices over in a studio that was across the street from Warner Bros. I mean, across the street from where were we? I forgot where we were. It'll come to me later. I mean, that's where I shot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it was coming out on the heels of, Black Panthers and Watergate. It was a strange time.
Yeah, and and the thing is, we were in pre-production, and the couple of representatives from NAACP came in, and Joe and I called me and said, "I've got representatives from NAACP here." I said, "What's going on?" They said, "Well, you ready to get in here?" I think I was out scouting locations, and it took me half an hour or so to get back, and Paramount Studios is what I was trying to think of.
Oh.
We opened an office over there, little studio, and I think that studio is still in business. But I drove up there, I walked into Joan R.'s office, and there 6 or 7 guys from NAACP there with their sleeves rolled up and their mouth poked out, hands on hips, saying, "We're going to do this movie, and what are you going to do for us?" and it's my first movie, and I'm saying, "What?"
Learning the business.
Yeah, what are you guys doing here? I mean, you made it hard for me.
Yeah.
What did I do? I did nothing.
Yeah.
I'm doing it, buddy. When we put this on the screen, that's what we're doing with it. People are going to see it. They're going to love it. So it was a laughing matter between Joe and I. We laughed at that one.
Yeah.
Other controversy, there were some people who, at the beginning, thought it was going to be a blaxploitation, I guess, which is what it was, but it pulled AIP out of a jam.
Mm-hmm.
Financially, it pulled them out of a jam, and we had a lot of money. So, what can I say?
Yeah. Why did you direct the sequel?
I really didn't want to. I got my fill of it, and it just didn't work out. I mean, that's another story. I mean, Bob Kelshon, I think, directed it. And later on, I heard that with the success of Blacula, that he would go to Joe Allen's bar and drink, and he'd tell everybody he directed Blacula. I mean, and as a personal note, I'd say between you and me, but I know people are going to hear this. I mean, you compare the two and look at the two different films. Mm-hmm. I think the point is made. I guess they didn't. I really made them angry. I guess maybe I was a spoiled brat. I don't know. I mean, I guess they were happy to see me go, but I did Blacula, and I think it worked to put it in the can, and I was through with it. Should I do it again? I heard Eddie Murphy did another one. I guess his latest thing that he did a black vampire. I guess I don't know. I never.
Yeah, Vampire in Brooklyn.
Yeah, then he stole a couple of scenes. He tried to do a couple of scenes from Blacula. I never met Eddie Murphy, but I heard this new thing with Dolomite that he's done. That, my little girl called me and said, "Hey, Dad, they're looking at Blacula in the movie." So, I don't know. What can I tell you?
I actually liked the Dolomite movie. It was pretty good.
Yeah, I heard it was too good. It got a few nominations. I think that's just great.
Mm-hmm.
That guy was, he had his own life going, and, he made a mark.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. When the movie came out, Gene Siskel described the movie as well-made and quite frightening.
Really? Well,
yeah.
Okay. Maybe I need to go see it.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean Blacula.
Oh, well. There's some people that have asked me to done it again, Tommy, and I don't know. I don't exactly know what to do here. I watched, what was it, what were the great guys who just, what was the movie with the Alien? They did Alien again.
They did Alien again?
Yeah, they did Alien, and I don't know about that. And then Blade Runner, they did Blade Runner again.
Yes.
These are classics. And how did it work?
I don't think they did, no.
I don't know, you see. So, and then the guys I really liked as producers, they did Magnificent Seven again.
Mm-hmm.
And Denzel is a friend of mine. I'm not saying an associate of mine, and we haven't had a drink together, but it didn't work, Tommy. To me, it just didn't work.
I agree. Yeah.
So I've got a couple of horror films in mind that we talked about in the beginning when we first started talking, and I've got a Western in mind. So I don't know, maybe I should just kind of move on. Should I do Blacula again? That's going to stand out there. I don't know how much energy and time I've got left here. So
yeah,
I've got a Western I think that would go great. I'm sorry Elmer Bernstein's not around to help.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot to ask. How did you find the Hughes Corporation?
Oh, man, I knew you were going to ask you that. Incredible. Joan R. and I said, listen, I got this Hughes Corporation, and I listened to a couple of things from them, and I said, okay, well, we've got to put some music in it. Let's do it. And we were in this club, South Central L.A.,
mm-hmm.
and, they showed up. We were there for 3 or 4 days, I think, and they showed up. And what do? You don't direct them. They had their own music and stuff, and so everybody sat there, and I'm sitting in the director's chair. And they took off with this music, and I was glumstruck. Glumstruck? What's the name of it? Glumstruck?
Dumbfounded?
Dumbfounded. I mean, my mouth must have fell open. I mean, figuratively. And I just couldn't believe it. And she started off with that song, man. I just sat there.
Mm-hmm.
And when they finished, I think did I say cut afterwards? I'm not sure. I was dumbfounded. So how do you beat that? How do you, what do you do with that? I mean, just wonderful. So, that's the luck of the draw. That is really the luck of the draw.
Yeah. Well,
are they still around?
Probably on the oldies circuit or something.
Yeah. Okay.
I haven't heard from them in a long time.
Yeah.
when Blacula was released on Thorn MI HBO Video in the '80s, it was a hot seller in the video stores and stuff. That must make you feel great.
Oh, it does. I mean, you guys are calling me from out of somewhere, and I mean, it just you won't die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did Mr. Black, Mr. Hyde come to you?
One of the people who worked on Blacula called and said, "I have a movie I'd like to do. I've got two. I've fallen. How did he say this? I've missed two production dates. Or how did he put this? Charles Walker was the producer, and he. I guess he got an option to go and couldn't get it going, and he had two different start dates. He messed them both up. So he called me and said, "Can you do this?" And I said, "I'm directing Starsky Hutch. I can't, and I've got a couple of others in the line to do." And he convinced me to try. So I called my agents and said, "I've got this horror movie to do, and they want me to do it." My agent said, I can't quote him, but he said, "Don't tell us about her." So I said, I don't know what he said, but at the time I was directing Starsky and Hutch, and when I finished during the day, I started doing Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde at night. That went on for several days. But the timing worked out, and I was full of energy. I didn't have to take any shots of brandy. I mean, I was able to make it work, and it came together.
Yeah. Was that Bernie Casey's first movie?
Oh no, Bernie had been around and done several movies, but I think I think they lost the actors that they want. I can't remember all of it, but the actors they originally wanted, they couldn't get, and that might have been why they lost their production dates. I mean, I guess people kind of read the script and said, "I don't think I want to do this."
Yeah.
But I knew Bernie from Ohio, and he just said, "If you direct this, I'll do it." I said, "Fine, you got a deal." We shook hands, and we got our start date.
Yeah. How was Rosalind Cash to work with?
Another dream. What a dream. What a professional. I mean, she had stage background. She'd done several movies, and she was also delightful. She was very good. Every time we'd rehearse, she'd give me one performance, and she'd say, "Let me show you something else." And she'd do 2 or 3 different versions. And she'd ask me, "Which one did you like?" And I'd say, "I liked all of them." So that's how good she was.
How come after that movie, you focused mainly on TV?
Well, TV was a breadwinner for me, and you have to ask me to do a movie, I guess. I mean, I didn't write anything at the time. I hadn't written anything, which was probably a mistake. I mean, I got a chance to visit Lou Wasserman. I got a chance to visit some other top-notch producers, but I didn't have anything in my hand. That was another mistake. I should have sat down with my IBM electric typewriter and knocked out some scripts, and that's what happened. I mean, so no one asked me to do some of the other movies, and that's just the lay of the land. I mean, that's how it worked out.
Yeah.
After that, then I was blessed with this little boy of mine, and so I raised him. And so now he's saying, "Dad, you need to get out and do something else. I'm grown." He's 15.
You directed the Dukes of Hazzard?
Yes, that was fun.
Yeah, it was fun. Yeah.
Again, I get some problems. The crew members. I got a lot of resentment, Tommy, from crew members, and I guess they just weren't ready.
Yeah.
Or didn't care, or you could see the resentment going on. Just, again, on again on Blacula, I remember this sound mixer when, let's see, who was it? I think Gordon Pinsett drove up to Thomas Rasua's house to get him because they were beginning to find these bodies laying around.
Mm-hmm.
And so the way I fixed the shot was the car, I wanted to shoot it from the car that pulls into the driveway, and there was a flight of stairs to go up to the front door of the house that Thomas was in. So in order to hear the dialogue that Thomas was using, I asked him for some headphones, or something I could hear from where I was.
Yeah.
And when I rehearsed it, I'm going to curse. The motherfucker turned the sound volume way up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was up to the highest volumes. I had to pull it off of my ears. And I looked at him, and because he was over in his, set of ways, but that was just mean. That was just being mean.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just took him off and did it from where I was. But I got a lot of. I got things like that happening to me quite a bit, and people just didn't think I knew what I was doing because I was new,
mm-hmm.
And I dare say, back to my Brownie Hawkeye days, I've always been blessed with a vision of a photographic vision or photography. Let me put it that way. Just photography. I had photography in high school. And composition and stuff. And I guess some of that's what got me through. I don't know. Maybe it was all the movies that we saw when we were kids. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, your passion for it just, it drove you.
Yeah.
It just kept you going, So tell me about this this new project. What's it called? Dambella, you said?
Oh, boy. It's funny how it comes together. After all these years, sitting around wondering what I should do, and I'm writing, and I want to do a Wolfman. That would be my trilogy, my horror trilogy, right?
Right.
So Wolfman. I wouldn't call it the Black Wolfman, but I do have that in mind. But I get this the same way you contacted me. I got this message on Messenger,
mm-hmm.
cell phones, and this video, and this. I'm trying to complain, but I can't complain. This social media, I guess.
Yeah.
But I got this message that said, Mr. Crain, I'd like to talk to you about a project I have in mind. And, okay. A couple of weeks went by. And said, Mr. Crain, are you there? I said, yeah, I'm here. Almost the same way you and I got together. This guy says, Irving Parham is his name. What a swell guy. He says, I took an acting class that you taught at Merrick Studios. What? And I also worked on Blacula as an extra. You probably wouldn't know me, but I worked on Blacula as an extra.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I have this horror script that I've written, and I'd like you to direct it. And what are you going to do, right? You say, okay, let me take a look at this. So we exchanged phone numbers, and he sent me this thing. And he wrote it. I mean, down and dirty, he wrote it. And I tend toward, I looked at this and I wondered, can we shoot this?
Mm-hmm.
And so put it down on my dining room table, and I read it, and then my son had some school things to go through, and we went through some other things, and I finished it, and I said, this could work pretty well. And so there's this other story, I don't know, did you ever hear about this lady who was on this cruise ship? She went on a cruise, and the cruise ship sank, and she's out in the water. Did you hear about this?
No.
ladies in a cruise ship, like the cruise ship that hit the rocks here, the Titanic, I guess, and it goes down and sinks, and people fluttering all over in the water. And the rescue first responders showed up, and they showed up in the PT boat, and this lady's floundering in the water, and they get ready to save her, and she said, no, don't save me. There are people over there that need help. There's a family over there. You need help. I'm praying to God right now. God's going to help me. You help them. And then later on, somebody else shows up on a Black Hawk, and they get ready to come down on a ladder while they're swimming. And she says, no, there's some other people on the other side, and you have to help them. They look like they're drowning. And so they sure said, yes, I'm praying God is going to save you. And they finally have another cutter that shows up to help her. And the same thing, people are out flooding, and she says, no, God is going to help me. I'm praying. And they go help her, and the lady drowns.
Wow.
So, yeah, and so she, of course, is a good Christian. She goes to heaven. And the story is that she finally gets her day and talks to St. Peter. And he says, what can I help? And she says, I want to talk to God. I have a thing for him to discuss. And he says, sure, we'll fix it. A year or so later, she gets her presence in front of God. He's sitting up on this throne with all these books in front of him, gobs of books. Mm-hmm. And she says, Lord, I'm still a good Christian, but I have a problem. What might I help you with, ma'am? She says, I was out there in that water, and I was praying to you to come and help me, and, I drowned. And he says, what? He puts his spectacles on and starts flipping the pages through this big book, this big volume. Mm-hmm. And he looks at this thing with his finger and goes down, and he says, that's odd. And she hands on him. She said, what's odd about it? And he says, it says here that I sent you a Black Hawk helicopter, I sent you a postcard cutter, I sent you a PT boat. What happened? So, I've been telling that story from time to time. People have already heard it.
Yeah.
And then a couple of weeks later, my son comes out of the kitchen with a plate full of food. He says, what did you do with this umbrella that sent you? And I said, I don't know. I'm thinking about it. And he said, Dad, remember that lady that was out drowning in the water? Nobody's getting rid of them yet. Why don't you get them on top of it? Out of the mouth of babes. So, when I call Irving, and Irving, what a swell guy. I mean, he's done his military service, his family, his nephews and uncles, and everybody went through the military. We talked about this over and over, so we're writing it and rewriting it. I guess I'm not that good, and we're both trying to piece this thing together, and we're doing it piece by piece by piece. And it works. And what it's based on is a nation myth, mm-hmm. Where this person is a part snake and part whatever, and, is in the Haitian mythology is somebody to deal with. So that's what it's based around. I can't tell you any more than that because we don't want to see it. We don't want it to get away from us. But we're piecing it together and piecing it together. And I got to tell you, Tommy, I think we've got something going here.
Well, I hope you do, and I hope it turns out to be successful for you, and I'll definitely watch it when it comes out.
I wanted to have something online, so if your people decided to look, they'd have something to point to, but I don't have anything to point to. But once we get started, I've got William Crain Media up, but there's nothing on it right now that talks about Dambella. One guy said, I hate the title, and I'm thinking, well, they hated the title of Blacula too, but what can I tell you?
Yeah. Is there anything else you're working on?
Well, I got a Western, and I've got two that that are side by side now that I've started. I've got this werewolf that should work. Mm-hmm. I've done a synopsis of it, but I don't have a script yet. And maybe with the success of Dambella, maybe I can get some producers to do it. And with all the new ways to get movies produced, man, I mean, look at the Irishman.
Yeah.
And then the Western. You want to hear about it?
Sure.
How much African American history do you know? Do you remember anything about the Buffalo Soldiers?
I remember Bob Marley talking about them in a song, but I don't really know a whole lot about them.
Buffalo Soldiers were, it was all prejudice at the time, but they were a black regiment of the Buffalo Soldiers. They had a 10th Cavalry and a 9th Cavalry, and it was all segregated. They were all black.
Mm-hmm.
And so they fought in the Civil War, and they did good. And it was after that Civil War that, I guess, somebody decided to integrate the regular armies because there's prejudice that was going on. But I've got a regiment of the 10th Cavalry. Once the war is over, these guys are ready to muster out. And, they're standing in formation and they get their salutes and they all salute and kind of say goodbye. And they say, look, what are you going to do? Well, I don't know. I'm going to go off and work here and I'm going to work somewhere else. And everybody kind of splits up. And they said, if you guys ever need to get together or something, send me a message. I'm a runner. And they disembark and they muster out and they're gone.
Mm-hmm.
And so this one guy who's going to be our protagonist, he gets married and starts a family and does a little plot of land that he's selling stuff on. Selling hay or selling, there may be sheep, I'm not quite sure what I've got yet, but, he's known in the town, rides his buckboard in the town and stuff, and he's got a daughter and he's got a son and, there's a henchman and something, and the plantation is really close, not a plantation, but their thing is close to an Indian reservation. And the two girls, two young girls who kind of get together and they shoot more arrows together and they swim together and, they eat each other's home and stuff. Mm-hmm. So while the hero is in town, the bad guys show up. They show up earlier, but I don't want to bore you with all of this stuff. But they show up and they get themselves in trouble. Mm-hmm. These are rabble rousers. And I think the opening scene I had them and the guy beating a black man up just because they're assholes.
Yeah.
But they come out and look at his buckboard and, kind of browse him around, and he doesn't pay any attention and goes back to his family. Then a few days later, he comes out of the ranch and goes back to town. In the meantime, the sheriff has these guys leave town. Just get out of here. You're causing too much trouble. They're gambling, okay? They're gambling a lot at the local pub, saloon. Mm-hmm. And when they ride out of town, they ride to his ranch. And they realize that that's his ranch, and they, start going up, tearing things up, and eventually what they do is they kill the foreman, and they kidnap his wife and his daughter and his son. I think they shoot his son. I'm not quite sure how to do this. And they take off, and their intention is to take these two women and sell them into slavery.
Wow. That sounds like it'd be a good Western.
I haven't even finished yet, Tommy.
Yeah. but just
so
the basic idea.
Go ahead.
But just the basic idea of it.
Yeah, that's what happens. And so he finds out what was on and rides back and finds his house burnt and stuff messed up and his family gone, and goes back into town, and the sheriff is gone because he's taking one of the guys to jail. And the sheriff says, look, those guys are really bad. I can't do anything about it. So a hero goes to the telegraph office and sends out a telegram. And what does it say? Come run. And so he sends it around. He finds these guys. And am I dreaming Magnificent Seven or what? But it's the same thing. These guys come back into town and say, what? And so they get their old pieces together and they go after them. Now, the Indian girl knows what happened because she was there and saw it. So she has been tailing this group, and she leaves little messages and little tokens so they can follow. And, of course, at the end, there's a shootout.
Yeah.
I tell you.
How do you feel? I was curious.
There's some more I don't want to give away.
Okay.
Let's just say the bad guy wants to rape the daughter, and the mother steps in, and she has to, make herself sacrifice, to keep that from happening. And during the shootout, the kids get away. But I don't want to go into all the detail. But that's it. That's the Western for me. You think it would work?
I think it would work. Yes.
Okay.
How do you feel though about the movie business, the way it's become in terms of just distributing movies?
It makes it easier. I'm sorry I'm sorry I'm having to talk about these scripts, and I don't have a bunch of scripts to go. I mean, apparently it's great. I mean, Get Out was just wonderful, and
yep.
And then once they see us, or what was it? Is it when they see us? Mm-hmm. I mean, this guy's gone. And some of the others that are coming out, I'm looking at these billboards, and they look great. So I think the opportunity is there. I just have to show up and go take some good material. And so I'm really excited about it. My legs are still up. I still got my vision. My boy is grown. I think it's great. Now, are they good? I don't know. I mean, I couldn't get to see Irishman while it was in the movies, and I wanted to see that in the movies. But it looks like I'm going to have to look at it on Netflix or something like that. But listen, Tommy, I'll go to Netflix in a minute and see if I can make a deal.
Oh, yeah. I like some things I find on Netflix. I haven't watched The Irishman yet, but I'm going to.
Yeah, you got to spend 3 hours.
Yeah.
So, do you wish you could see it in the theater?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I prefer the theaters more than watching it streaming, either the theaters or, on my TV. But, I mean, I could hook up, the Netflix to the TV if I wanted to. But, I love it in the theaters the most.
Absolutely.
The most, And I just hope the theaters don't go away. I hope they stay.
Well, you're in California, right?
Right.
You ever been to Catalina?
No.
Well, there was a huge theater, casino theater in Catalina, big seat with 1,000 seats, and they would run first-rate movies there. And then lately they have been running regular movies, but they would have to. I think they would have to book them for 2 weeks at a time. And people just didn't come to see it. And as of 2 weeks ago, they're closing that theater, which is a shame. It's a huge, beautiful piece of art, this open theater, but they just can't keep it alive. They can't keep it going. They're having to close it. I've seen some other theaters close, so it may be a thing of the past for us. I really don't know. I don't get a chance to sit and tease on my old buddies anymore. About in the movies, being paid to watch movies. I don't know. I don't know if they ran it at the Directors Guild. I certainly missed that.
Yeah.
I guess you'd have to rent it, I guess, and hire the projectors and show it. I don't know what to do. 3 hours with a movie, and I'm so sorry I didn't get a chance to see it. Apparently it's shot very well.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. But I'm not going to be, I'm not against it. I think HBO and Netflix and some of the others are fine if they produce the money. I don't know how to put all those together yet. I've got to get a good producer, but I'm happy. I mean, there's stories to be told and stories to be told. I don't know. Can we go back and do some of the old ones? I guess. I don't know, but I like the theaters as well. And I guess that theater at Catalina is probably the handwriting on the wall for the theaters. People are looking at movies in their homes, and they're looking at Netflix, and that day may have come and gone. Hell, I don't know.
Yeah, I hope that the theaters don't go away, and I hope you get to make your scripts, and I will be keeping an eye out for them.
Okay, well, I'm active online. I wrote President Trump online. I guess you want to wrap this up, but I wrote President Trump online. He's texting all the time, right?
Right.
Send out these texts. So I sent him a text and said, "Sir, if you want to get out of there, I'll meet you in the back of the White House in my service truck at 2 o'clock in the morning. And you recognize my truck because my name is there on the side, Squat Low. And if you come out at 2 in the morning, I can spirit you out of there and get you out of trouble. It'll be a win-win for you and us. So, I don't know. He didn't invite me back. Secret Service hasn't come, so maybe it didn't work. I don't know.
Well, let's keep our fingers crossed for the impeachment, you know?
Well, you know, I don't know what Speaker Pelosi's going to do. My idea is, who am I? But my idea is to not send it to the Senate. I mean, our Kentuckian has said he's going to, do what he's going to do, and they're going to not impeach him. They're not going to do this. They're not going to do that. Maybe she needs to wait for a while. Maybe they need to wait until, March or something like that. If they get him impeached, for sure, right? But they just don't take it to the Senate for a trial.
Right.
And so once the year turns, I mean, he's impeached. They just haven't gone with the trial yet. But because if she takes it there, they're not going to, it's going to be like, the lawyer, defense lawyer, going to the prosecution and saying, look, I'll make you a deal. And so that's what our Kentucky friend has decided to do, and so it's all fixed already before they even go to trial. So what's going to happen? They'll impeach him in the House, but you know what the Senate's going to be. That's not going to be a trial.
Yeah.
We've already said we want to make it short, we want to make it quick, we want to get out of here and go on about our business, and so that's what they're going to do. And he's got these people hook, line, and sinker. They're not worried about their Constitution and their oath. They're not going to happen. So I don't know, but we'll see what happens. In the meantime, you and I just keep looking at movies. Okay.
Exactly. Let's keep looking at movies.
Okay.
Well, William, I wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and I hope everything that you want to accomplish happens for you.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
My pleasure, and I hope your son wins the game today.
Okay, he will. Thanks, Tommy.
Okay, my pleasure. Bye-bye. Well, there you have it. William Crain. Ain't he a cool dude? Thank you so much, William. I'm glad we got to talk about your amazing, if idiosyncratic career. I hope that your screenplays get made, and I hope you will continue the tradition that you started with Blacula, with making some great cinema. If you like this video, everyone, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, add me as a friend on Facebook, join my Tommy Kovac comedian page on Facebook, follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and all that fun stuff. Well, that's all the time we have this week on Splat from the Past. Until next time, this is Tommy Throwback Kovac saying, there's no shame in living in the past, because the present sucks. Later, dudes!